Hey guys, coming at you with another episode of Geekin Drinkin. Stick around. Hey guys, Steven here from Geekin Drinkin. This is episode 91. As you can see, it is just me here today, but it's all good. We're got a good topic here to talk about, and I also got a new or a good brew here already poured and ready to go. So let's go ahead and introduce that beer real quick here before we get started on the topic. So I got this beer in Fredericksburg, Texas, from a place called Fat Ass Ranch and Brewery. Oh yeah, you heard that correctly. Fat Ass Ranch and Brewery in Fredericksburg, Texas. And this is their Fat Ass Ale with peach juice, which will tie in pretty well with the topic that we're going to be going on talking about today. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Like I said, this is episode 91, and I got my beer already poured for me. So cheers, guys. Yeah, so I just recently visited Fredericksburg, Texas, and while over there, my wife and I celebrated our wedding anniversary. And while there, we visited a few breweries and wineries, which is what they're really have a lot of over there and kind of known for, as well as their peach town as well. They sell a lot of peaches, so that's pretty cool. And like I said, which will tie in with the topic I got for today. And yeah, it was really good. One of the places that we actually really liked was the Fat Ass Ranch and Brewery, which is an interesting place to visit because it's not just a brewery; it's also a winery. And on their land, the brewery and the winery are separate, but they're not like far apart. It's a walking distance. Or if you don't want to walk, they also have a little cart service that will take you between the winery and the brewery. Um, as for me, I didn't really go visit the winery area. I stayed in the brewery area, of course, but that's to each their own, right? Maybe next time if I go, next time we go and visit them, I'll visit the wine area. But they did have some wine in the brewery area, but they said that most of their stuff was obviously in the wine area. So if you ever go visit them, I suggest visiting them over there in Fredericksburg, Texas. If you do go, they are open 12 to 5, and that's even on the weekends. On the weekends, though, they do have a food truck that will be there in their parking lot. So, if you want to order food and stuff, and they have live music on Saturdays as well too. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, let's get over to our topic here. So we're gonna be talking, which I went to go see a few weeks ago, or not a few weeks ago, but came out a few weeks ago, which I went to go see recently was the new Furiosa movie. Furiosa, the Mad Max saga, starring Chris Hemsworth, Anya Taylor Joy, Tom Burke, Lackey Holmes, and a lot of other great actors that played really good, amazing characters in this movie. So, excuse me. I do apologize. I have been a little under the weather lately, so excuse the cough here. But yeah, went to go see the new Furiosa movie. Was freaking amazing. Was great. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you go watch it. If you haven't seen Mad Max Fury Road, I definitely suggest you watching that if you have Max, as well as the other Mad Max movies uh, that that are also available on Max. That's kind of weird to say. So if you know about the movies, you ultimately know what's going on. If you're not familiar with them, so basically what's happening here is this takes place in post-apocalyptic Australia. There's just nothing but deserts. and like rare areas where there's like lots of green land where there's still like fresh water and agriculture going on and stuff like that. Um, Ultimately, these movies do have somewhat of like a plot that's going on and stuff like that. But however, like if you ever seen Fury Road, especially Fury Road, it's just pure nonstop action. I mean, just great action going on, and kind of the same thing going on that rolls over into Furiosa. Um, so like I said, it's got a lot of great actors in it. Chris Hemsworth, who comes out in it, plays a character called Dementis. Anya Taylor Joy, who plays Furiosa. Tom Berg as Praetorian Praetorian Jack. Lackey Holmes, Lackey Holmes, who plays a character by the name of Resdale Pell, and who also plays a character that was from Fury Road, in Immortan Joe, who was originally played by Hugh Keys Burns, who unfortunately passed away in 2020, so he couldn't reprise the role. Um, Chris Hemsworth's wife plays a couple of characters in it. Elsa Pataki is the actress's name. And then we get some returning characters. John Howard returning as the People Eater. Angus Sampson returning as the Organic Mechanic. Nathan Jones, who comes back to play Rictus Erectus, who's one of Morton Joe's sons. And then we get Josh Hellman, who was in Fury Road, who played a character by the name of Slit, who was one of the war boys in the movie. Comes and plays one of Warren Joe's sons, Scrotus. So like I said, there's a lot of people, a lot of good characters in this movie. Um, Again, if you have not seen it, it's just pure action. What really ties in the beer that I'm drinking to the movie is that in the beginning of the movie you see a very young Furiosa with another character in her area, which is known as the Green Place of Many Mothers, um, climbing a tree and reaching up for a peach. And that's why I decided to choose. Excuse me. This is why I decided to choose this beer from Fat Ass Ranch and Brewery. Which, by the way, I'm also wearing their T-shirt. So if you haven't, you can see that it says "Don't be a dumbass," and then on the bag it says "Drink Fat Ass Beer." So cheers to you guys. Here's to you guys out there. Which is really good. It's really delicious, really refreshing. They had a few other brews there that I really like. One of them was their chocolate bocked. Oh my god, that one was really good. Then they had a hazy blood orange. That one was also really, really good. And their amber was also a good one. So I did try a few beers there, other than just the peach one, which was really good. But back to Furiosa. So yeah, I mean, there's really not much that I can say other than that. I mean, this was an amazing movie, which is great, nicely well shot. Good. Again, there's not very much in this one. There's a lot of dialogue, I guess you can say, as opposed to some of the other ones. But for Anya Taylor Joy's character, which is basically what the movie is based off of, she barely had any dialogue in the movie, and which was pretty crazy. And but she still did an amazing job in it. And if you ever seen Mad Max Fury Road, you also know that the character Furiosa was in that movie, but was played by the wonderful and talented Charlize Theron, and Mad Max was played by Tom Hardy. Um, so ultimately, what happened was George Miller wanted to do the story of Furiosa but a younger version or young version of Furiosa. So this is why we get Anya Taylor Joy in the movie. Which she's an amazing actress. She's done such amazing work in other movies and series and stuff like that. So, like I said, she didn't really have too much dialogue. So, I guess that kind of also helped her a little bit more just to focus on just bringing the action to into this movie. Um, the other thing too that George Miller did, who wrote and directs all the Mad Max movies, he did a little something different in this one, which he developed chapters for this movie, which I thought was pretty interesting. And again, that's nothing that's nothing new that a director hasn't done before. I mean, uh, definitely one director that comes to mind that has done it in numerous of his movies is Quentin Tarantino. If you ever seen any of his movies, especially like Inglorious Bastards, he definitely does it in that one. Kill Bill, for sure, he does it in that one. So it's really nothing new, uh, for a director to kind of like do that into their movies. But it was definitely something different that he did for this movie compared to the to the Mad Max movies. Because in the Mad Max movies, he never did that. Like I said, the Mad Max movies, it's just pure action. Just trying to get right into it, and just explosions and just lots of like crazy stuff going on, which is why I'm a huge fan of that. I mean, if you know me, I'm a big action junkie, so I don't care about the story. Just give me the action, man. So that was pretty cool. Um, the movie Furiosa is about 2.5 hours long, which is 30 minutes longer than Fury Road, which is weird though because Fury Road didn't really seem like a long movie. And again, I guess that was because of all the like all the stuff that was that was just kind of happening and like right up in your face. Excuse me. I apologize again. With this one, other characters who had quite a bit of dialogue, especially Chris Hemsworth's character, who really had a lot to say. Um, I mean, took up a lot of that, and at some certain points, I was just kind of like, okay, I get it, let's kind of get on with it, but I kind of understand why George Miller did it that way too. Um, because he did 5 chapters, which were chapter one was the pole of inaccessibility, chapter two, lessons from the wasteland, chapter three, the stowaway, chapter four, homeward, and chapter five, beyond vengeance. And the reason why I think he did this was ultimately to develop the character of Furiosa, because we're watching this character getting developed from when she was a little girl and being kidnapped and seeing all this stuff that she had never seen before, to her growing up and ultimately um riding the war rig, which is a big truck that has like all these like things in it with this big old tanker for gas to transport gas between these two towns, which I'll tell you the towns the main towns here in a little bit, but who runs that war rig that also has a whole bunch of war boys trying to protect it as well. With all these weaponries and stuff like that, it's just freaking nuts. So ultimately, what happens is, or what's going on is that they use this war rig to transport goods between 3 towns in this wasteland. One called Gastown, which is a refinery that still produces gas, which gas is really hard to find during this wasteland now. Bullet Farm, which used to be a mine and got changed into a arms factory where they make arms, gunpowder, and ammunition. And the Citadel, which is one of the other rare green places. That's the fortress of Immortan Joe, that consists of three towering rocks that sit above an aquifer full of fresh water, and on top of the rocks is like agriculture up there where they're able to grow things and stuff like that. Um, so those are the three main towns. Um, we get um, how can I say it? Like they mention those towns in Fury Road, in Mad Max Fury Road, but we actually never see them. So in Furiosa, for them to mention them again and actually see them was freaking cool. I thought that was great. I mean, other people kind of could have been like, well, I don't really care to see these places, but I thought it was pretty cool because you actually got to see them, and you were like, oh, okay, so that's what that is, and that's what they do. Oh, okay, that makes sense. And, as opposed to them just mentioning it, and you're like, well, what is it? I want to know. I'm curious, but that's just me. Um, so, and then, like I said, with these chapters in the movie, ultimately they're just basically like life lessons for Furiosa. Again, from her growing up, from her being a little girl, to all the way growing up. I'm not gonna get too into detail about the movie because, like I said, it's a 2.5 hour movie. If you're interested in watching it, I definitely strongly suggest you go watch it in theaters. I mean, if you want to wait, that's cool. But I mean, I think ultimately to see this movie in theaters is just like amazing. And where I went to go watch it, which is Flick's Brew House, which is one of my favorite movie theaters here in San Antonio, is because if you're like me, where you're a movie nerd and you like to go see movies in theaters, and you also like to enjoy having some craft beer, definitely go to Flick's Brew House, because it's not only that they serve craft beer there, they actually brew their own beer there, so it's actually really good. And they do some seasonal stuff as well as that they have some of their flagship stuff there, which is really good, really delicious. They even sell some of their beers to go, or they sell their beers to go. I believe only the ones that they brew there to go. I'm not sure because they do have some other beers from other breweries in Texas, but I'm not sure if they do theirs to go. But I know for sure they do the ones that they brew themselves there at the brewery. Like it's not like it gets made somewhere else and then shipped over to the theater. No, they make it there at the theater, and they sell those to go as well. They also do serve food there, and they have other like movie nights, like fan fest and stuff like that. I know for during Valentine's, me and my wife went to go see Clueless. One thing that I wanted to go see that my son wants to go see in theaters because it's one of his favorite movies is Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which they do show that one there every so often as well. So yeah, it's really good movie theater. So yeah, I strongly suggest checking out Flick's Brew House, and that's where I went to go see Furiosa. And like I said, there's no other way to watch these Mad Max movies other in the big screen. I mean, I've seen it Fury Road here at home on on my television. It's great, it's good, especially with the sound system that I have, which is all right. But seeing it in theaters was like, man, this is freaking amazing. This is freaking awesome, dude. Like, dude, it just blows my mind. So yeah, definitely go watch that. What I'll give you a brief on too is if you're just gonna get into the whole Mad Max saga, um, don't bother with the timeline. The timeline is totally effed. I'm gonna tell you that right now. It is totally effed. And I'll tell you why here. Because if you go back and watch the original Mad Max movie, which I believe was made in 1979 or 81, and I know those are like 2 years apart. Uh, and I could double check here in a bit, but um, in the first movie, the time that it takes place is actually in like 1984, 1985. And again, this is the movie being made in like 79 or 81. Let's check it out here real quick. Come on, open up. Mad Max. First one. 1979. So, okay, we're still like in the late 70s, 1979. And for the movie to take place in 1984 or 1985, you know, quite a few years away. So the first one taking place in 19 I'm just gonna go with 1985. Movie ends, whatever. Then you get Mad Max: The Road Warrior, which is supposed to be 3 years after the first Mad Max movie. So obviously 87 or 88. Then you get Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, which is supposed to be, oops, let's see here, no, go away. Which is supposed to take place 15 years after the Road Warrior. So that would bring it into like the early 2000s sometime. And again, this was Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome was made in 1985, and this was supposed to be 15 years after the Road Warrior, which was still like in 1987, 1988. So then we get, a lot of time has gone by, and I'm talking about between just movies being made in the Mad Max franchise. And in 2015 is when we get Mad Max Fury Road, and that's supposed to take place in like the 2030s or 2040s, because it's supposed to be like 30 or 40 years after the events of Beyond Thunderdome. And again, so this is why I say the timeline is F, because this is supposed to be about 30 to 40 years after Beyond Thunderdome. In Thunderdome, Mad Max was already probably in his like 30s or 40s by then. And then when, 30 to 40 years later, and you get Mad Max Fury Road, and he still looks like he's in his like late 30s or 40s. So you tell me, does that actually make sense? No, it doesn't. So that's why I say the timeline is totally F. So don't bother with the timeline. F the timeline. Take the movies for what they are. Just good old pure action, explosions, guns blazing, these tricked out cars just, going at it in these different gangs and stuff like that. I mean, just take it for what it is, and I guarantee you're going to enjoy it a lot more than you trying to be like, well, this doesn't make sense because, he still looks young and he's supposed to be super old and these cars weren't even. It's like, dude, shut up, all right? I don't care about that. I just care, like, oh my God, this was a freaking amazing movie. This was good. I enjoyed it very much. That's all that matters to me. So that's with that, um, the one thing you can take into consideration on the timeline is that Furiosa is supposed to be a prequel and is a spin-off in the Mad Max saga. So that is actually supposed to be taking place 15 or 20 years before the events of Fury Road. And again, this is why I say the timeline is F, because I'm saying years between like 15 or 20. That's like 5 years apart, as opposed to like 19 or 20 years, which like that'll make a little bit more sense. But again, that's why I say the timeline is just totally effed. So don't bother with the timeline. The one thing you want to go into with watching these movies is the action. The action, action, action. Oh my God. And just, the way they portray the people in this post-apocalyptic wasteland, when you see like Chris Hemsworth's character, he's like got these three motorcycles and this like carrier in the back, and riding it like if the horses, like the motorcycles are his horses, and he's just like controlling them like that. That's, I mean, dude, that is fucking crazy. That is nuts. That's like, oh shit, that is badass. That's fucking cool. You know, you get these crazy aerial people that are just like, you know, hang gliding or something like that with like these big old fans in the back of them, and you know, dropping bombs trying to get this war rig and you know, take control over these three towns and stuff like that these other crime lords have already taken control over. And you know, I mean, it's just nuts. And that's kind of one thing that Fury Road kind of messed up on as far as action goes. But there was not a lot of aerial stuff going on as there was in Furiosa, and also in Road Warrior and Beyond Thunderdome. They had a little bit more like aerial stuff going on as opposed to Fury Road. But you know, it is what it is. So you know, one thing too, like I said at the beginning of the movie, you see the young Furiosa with this peach, and throughout the movie, she keeps the peach seed with her as a secret. Ultimately, she uses that seed to plant a new peach tree in the Citadel using Chris Hemsworth's character as fertilizer, which is, again, nuts. It's just crazy. So that's a big spoiler. But other than that, I mean, you gotta watch the movie. It's a great movie. The storyline was good. Again, you know, be prepared to be in there for 2.5 hours. So if you don't want to come out like super late, I went to go watch the movie around like 8:30. Didn't get out of the movie theater until like almost midnight, and so I was kind of already tired by then, especially having a couple of beers. And I was just like, yeah, next time I need to watch to see how long these movies are and maybe get an early showing. But I mean, yeah, ultimately, like that was pretty much Furiosa. It was good. Like I said, I'm not gonna give too much away. I probably already gave one of the big things away, but I mean, the movie's been out for a few weeks already, and if you haven't seen it, I mean, go watch it. It's a really good movie. If you want to get caught up with the other Mad Max movies, I suggest doing it. I did because I had seen Road Warrior once and Beyond Thunderdome once, but again, I was really young when those came out, and when I saw them in like the 90s after they had already been out for like 10, 12 years already. Um, I kind of didn't really care for them at the time, but then when Fury Road came out, I was like, okay, I need to watch them again, which I really didn't. So it wasn't until Furiosa came out where I was like, okay, I need to really sit down and watch these movies, and then I'm gonna go watch Furiosa, and which I did, and then kind of put a lot of stuff in perspective. Other stuff was just kind of like, oh, whatever. You know, Fury Road could also be its own thing. It could, even though it's supposed to be a sequel, the fourth installment, it could also even just be its own movie itself too. Like a remake, of for Mad Max. But yeah. So that's pretty much it. Um, Again, if you're ever in Fredericksburg, I suggest go visiting Fat Ass Ranch and Brewery. If you love wine, they also have wine there. But like I said, I'm more the beer guy. So that's what I stuck with. Is with their beer, and yeah, that's where I'm at right now. And if you've been watching our last few episodes, you've also known that at the end of the episode, I'll play, depending on where you're watching or if you're listening. If you're watching our podcast on YouTube, right about now you're just listening to our regular outro music, which is cool, which is fine. But if you're listening to it on like Spotify or you're listening to the audio version, that I'll be playing a song from a band. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do here. So to conclude this episode, which is episode 91 of Geekin Drinkin, be sure to follow us on our social medias. Pretty more active on Instagram than I am in Facebook or X, formerly known as Twitter. I really do not like that name. It's just weird. That's just me. So, but like I said, yeah, follow us on our social medias. Be sure to subscribe on our YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, you're already listening to our outro music. And if you're listening to our audio, I'm going to be playing a song from a band called Idola. This is Who of You Will Persevere. This is from their latest album, Eviscerate, which came out a few weeks ago, or maybe like a month ago now. So here you go. Check it out. Hope you like them. They're a really good band. Yeah, so again, this is Steven from Geekin Drinkin. Cheers.